Good evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye D'Souza. Let's get straight to it. Petrol prices and diesel prices were hiked again. This is the second hike in 3 days. Petrol prices were increased by 25 paise. Diesel was increased by 30 paise. Mumbai, petrol now costs 107 rupees and 71 paise per litre. Diesel is at 97 rupees and 52 paise. In Delhi, it's 101 rupees and 64 paise for petrol. I just want to remind you, though, that as of the 15th of September, according to Indian Oil, a litre of petrol, the base price, the actual oil that you're buying, the tel that you're buying, costs about 40 rupees. Plus 1 rupee for transport and 3 rupees for the dealer. So that's 44 rupees out of a total of 107. Everything else is taxes, state and center. Now, the increase in fuel prices is coming in because there has been an increase in the price of crude across the world. As most of the world now opens up after being adequately vaccinated, it is likely the prices are going to go up further. Now, the government has repeatedly in the past pinned the blame on the global prices. That's not exactly fair. While we do and we are linked to global prices, we must realize that more than half of what we pay for fuel in India is taxes that the government can afford at this point to bring down. In another story that is developing, 6 policemen in Uttar Pradesh's Gorakhpur have been suspended after a businessman died late in the night in a police raid in the city hotel on Monday. Now, the policemen are absconding. They've been charged with murder and they are now on the run from the police. Now, late on Monday night, 6 policemen apparently raided a hotel where this businessman and his friends were staying. Now, according to what we've been told now and according to various police reports, it turns out that the police were raiding this hotel because they received information that there were suspicious men staying from out of town in that hotel. Perhaps they forgot that most hotels are meant to house people from out of town. They showed up without a warrant to raid that hotel, and this is what one of the eyewitnesses, a friend of the deceased, has now said, that the policemen were drunk. They demanded to see the IDs of all of the men. When the victim took a little longer to produce his ID than the rest, the drunk and now angry policeman started assaulting him, and he hit him several times on the head with the butt of his rifle, causing the man to collapse. The police apparently then took him to the police station and then from there to a hospital where he was declared dead. The man is survived by his wife and his 5-year-old son. In a statement, the businessman's wife said, and I quote, "Just 10 minutes before his death, he was speaking to me on the phone. He then cut the call saying the police are here. I believe he later called another relative saying the police were harassing them, threatening them and asking him to accompany them to the police station. I want answers on how he died." There's also a video on the internet right now of the police advising the family not to file a complaint in this matter. The police initially said that the victim was drunk, he fell down and hit his head and died completely by accident. It was only after the family began speaking to the press and got the attention of opposition party leaders that the police registered a case against the 6 accused policemen and suspended them. News reports also say that UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has spoken on the phone with the victim's wife and offered the family compensation of 10 lakh rupees. Although the victim's wife says this is not enough, she wants these men arrested for the murder of her husband. The National Commission for Women has raised strong objections to the story of a woman Air Force officer allegedly being subjected to the banned 2-finger intrusive test done by the Air Force doctors after this woman had complained that she had been sexually assaulted or raped by a colleague. The National Commission for Women have asked the Air Chief Marshal to take necessary steps immediately. This comes after a 28-year-old woman officer in the Air Force has accused her colleague of sexually assaulting her, claiming that she was made, and she then said that when she wanted to file the complaint, 2 of her senior officers firstly advised her against it and told her to think about the reputation of her family. And then she was asked to take the 2-finger test by Air Force officer doctors. and she was made to relive the trauma during that test. A flight lieutenant was arrested last week on the charge of sexually assaulting the woman officer. The Women's Commission has said, and I quote, "The National Commission for Women is utterly disappointed and strongly condemns the action of Indian Air Force doctors conducting the banned two-finger test on a victim, thereby violating the Supreme Court's decision and also violating the right of privacy and dignity of the victim," end quote. Well, an update on the drama that continues in Punjab. Navjot Singh Sidhu has met with Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi for talks at Punjab Bhavan in Chandigarh. According to NDTV, all matters and issues were resolved to satisfaction between the two men. Before that meeting, Sidhu had said that he was open to discussions. Now, this would suggest that he will remain in the Congress and continue maybe to hold his position as the head of the Congress in the state. Charanjit Singh Channi has called a cabinet meeting on the 4th of October as well. In the meantime, though, speaking with NDTV, former Punjab Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh has said, and I quote, "So far, I'm in the Congress, but I will not remain in the Congress. I've already made my position very clear. I will not be treated in this manner." Now, he's also made it clear during this interview that he does not plan to join the BJP, but he does plan to leave the Congress. He has dropped Congress from his Twitter bio as well. He said, "I've been in politics for 52 years. I have my own beliefs. The way I was treated. At 10:30 a.m., the Congress president says, 'You resign.' I didn't ask any questions. I said, 'I will do it just now.' At 4 p.m., I went to the governor and I resigned. If you doubt me after 50 years and my credibility is still at stake, if there's no trust, what is the point of me staying in the party?" End quote. In the meantime, Delhi Congress workers on Wednesday protested against their own party senior leader Kapil Sibal outside his residence holding up "Get Well Soon" placards. A video showed a car, reportedly Kapil Sibal's car, being damaged by members of his own party. They also raised slogans like "Leave the Party" and "Rahul Gandhi Zindabad." The protesters raised slogans against Sibal, asking him to leave the party. Several leaders hit out at Sibal for what they said was questioning the leadership from which he had earlier benefited. This comes after Kapil Sibal questioned the Congress leadership, specifically the Gandhi siblings, over the Punjab crisis. In other news, the Supreme Court has reiterated its objections about farmers protesting and blocking highways in their ongoing protest against the 3 farm laws. The Supreme Court bench said that redressal of grievances can be done through judicial forums, through agitation and parliamentary debates, but not by way of blocking highways. How can highways be blocked perpetually? Where does it end? The court asked. The court also said that it has laid down the law in this regard in the matter of the CAA protests, specifically Shaheen Bagh, and it was the duty of the executive to implement those orders. The court was hearing a plea by a resident of Noida who was seeking relief against the blockade by protesting farmers. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who is the lawyer who represents the Government of India in court, had said a high-level committee has been formed where farmers have been invited to participate, but they have refused to join. According to the Indian Met Department, days after Cyclone Gulab, which formed in the Bay of Bengal, Cyclone Shaheen is most likely to intensify in the northern Arabian Sea on Friday morning. It's expected to move away from India's west coast towards Pakistan. A quick update on our COVID numbers as well. India reported 23,529 new cases in the last 24 hours. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan has said the number of COVID cases is declining in Kerala, but the state still contributes a substantial number of the total cases in the country. Kerala logged about 15,900 cases in the last 24 hours. The Delhi government has announced that there will be no public celebrations of the Chhat Puja allowed in public places, grounds, riverbanks and temples. COVID curbs have been extended now until the 15th of November. The order reads, and I quote, "Fairs, melas, food stalls, jhulas, rallies, processions will not be permitted during festivals in Delhi. Chhat Puja celebration shall not be allowed in public places. People are advised to celebrate at home," end quote. A quick look at news coming in from the world of business and the economy. With the aim to help businesses reeling under the pressure of COVID and the effect of the lockdown, the central government has extended the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme until the 31st of March next year. The Finance Ministry said that the government has received many demands from various businesses and industry bodies and stakeholders to extend the scheme to ensure continued support to eligible sectors and businesses. In the view of the businesses impacted by COVID, it has decided to extend that scheme. In a report by OPEC, which is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, it's a group of countries in the Gulf that export crude. India is one of its biggest customers. It has basically said that Indian motorists will struggle to move away from diesel and petrol, suggesting that our push to electric vehicles may not actually be a success. It has said that we're going to add 200 million passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles, which will largely be dependent on petrol and diesel. Indian oil demand, it was affected by COVID, but it's expected to come back to pre-pandemic levels this year, which is at about 4.9 million barrels. And in the next, it's expected to double to 11 million barrels per day by 2045. OPEC meets 71% of our oil requirements. News coming in from across the world right now. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, almost 80% of those people displaced in Afghanistan by the crisis are women. According to UN agencies, the impact on the conflict on women and on girls is particularly devastating. Earlier, UN Refugee Chief Filippo Grandi said that Afghanistan's humanitarian situation is desperate and called for urgent aid for the country. One positive news before I leave you for the day. 3 people from Kerala, Jovis Joseph, Shabu Paul and Brijoy John, who migrated from Kerala to Ireland for a job, have bagged the Best Organic Vegetable and Fruit Grower Prize of 2021 in a country-level farm exhibition held in South Dublin. They've been cultivating 16 varieties of fruits and vegetables in the past 2 years. That brings us to the end of the news. Thank you so much for listening. Do leave us your feedback. Here's a quick question to check if you were really paying attention. There is a new cyclone brewing in the Arabian Sea. It's going to hit the west coast, which means rain for us in Mumbai. But what is that cyclone called? Leave us the answer in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Good night.